Hi Homeworthy, I'm Jenny. This is my 650 square foot one bedroom apartment in New York City. Come on in.
You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story. Before today's episode, click the join button below to support all of the storytelling we do on this channel. Our growing community of members help to directly fund more videos so we can capture these extraordinary homes from around the world. So join today to receive early and exclusive access to new Homeworthy videos.
Hi, I'm Jenny Davis. I'm a freelance writer and an interior designer. We're in New York City on the Upper East Side in a one bedroom apartment that's 650 square feet. And when I first moved in, we were told by people in the building it was 850, which is not true. I've measured and remeasured and remeasured. And if you saw before photos, you'd believe me. So I chose this apartment because I love pre-war buildings. I love the architecture. I love the sturdy framework of a pre-war building. This is actually the second apartment I've lived in. I've only lived in 2 apartments in my entire life. I grew up in New York City in Inwood. My father was the superintendent of the building we lived in, and that was also a pre-war building that was of the same size as this one. So I think when I first saw this place 17 years ago, it felt like home, partly because of nostalgia, but also I could just tell the bones were great since I first came here. My home is very kid-centric. I'm a single mom to 3 young kids. So really, if they're content and playing independently, that's the only way I get peace. If they're sleeping, I'm sleeping. It doesn't work any other way. So I've dedicated a lot of my home to making sure they have space to play. I also strongly believe that children learn through play, and since a lot of that happens at home, I've done a lot of research about what types of toys really foster that early brain development. I used to work at the Clinton Foundation, where Secretary Clinton started an initiative called Too Small to Fail, and I learned a lot about how a person's brain, 80% of their brain develops in the first 5 years, and how important exposure and activities that they do is, and how critical that is to lifelong success. So that was ingrained in me when I became a mom. And so a lot of the toys I've curated for my kids and settings I set up is for their development, but also to give me some relief and a break, and to make parenting easier, to make me more present and calmer amidst what can be a lot of chaos, to make my home feel like a deep breath in and out instead of me just holding my breath in and contributing to overwhelm. And I didn't start here. I got into design after my environment was negatively contributing to my well-being and emotions and feelings, and then I started changing things around and seeing the difference, and I discovered a talent. I found I was really good at making space where there seemed to be no space and finding unused space. And 17 years later, this apartment feels bigger than ever before, despite my family having grown, and more like home. Welcome to the grand entryway, where the only thing grand about this space is the wallpaper. It is really narrow and tight with so many sharp turns that you can't even fit a stroller in here unless you fold it. So that was fun for me with 3 young kids. But I used to have just white walls, and I felt so confined, and it felt so, the smallness of the room really felt highlighted, that I just decided to go crazy with the wallpaper. And it's funny because I only go crazy with wallpaper pretty much in small spaces, because I think it adds dimension, but it also just distracts from how tight the space is and brings you into another world. So I have this great dinosaur wallpaper in here. We have 2 closets. This is a beautiful piece that I bought secondhand for $200. I'm telling you, there's so much good stuff out there, stuff that people don't use or need anymore. And it's the perfect size. It's really narrow, really tall, and I think fits in beautifully with the colors in the space. Now, welcome to the foyer. After the entryway, this is another kind of tight, small space, but I tried to add dimension and texture by adding this peel and stick wallpaper. That's actually not flat. It has some texture, and I think that helps with the colors and making the space feel deep. I put a mirror here to reflect the light that's coming in from the living room. I decorate this space with a lot of mementos or things that have deep meaning to me. This was gifted to me from the family of a dear friend of mine who passed away. My father loved flamingos, so I got this painting after he passed. This was handmade by my grandmother, and I just hung it on the light because I wanted to decorate with it. I used to store all my mementos in plastic bags, in protective cases, behind closed doors like a cabinet, and I thought I have to protect them. They're too special and important to me. And then I've realized how that's a disservice to what these things can mean to you in life, or to me at least. And I keep thinking, if this gets ruined, at least I've appreciated it and I've enjoyed it and I've honored it. So I do that in the foyer welcome space. And what I'm gonna touch on throughout the tour is how I make this space work better for me and my family and make it feel bigger by creating zones. A zone is a space that serves a specific purpose or function or utility, and a zone can be a wall, it can be a closet, it can be a section of the room. So as I go through each room, I'm going to talk about that, but I also have a lot of flexible multi-purpose use of spaces. And later we'll come back to this foyer and I will show you what it becomes at night. So for now, it's the entry foyer. Welcome to the living room. It's a long living room that gets flooded with light, which is nice for small space because it really opens it up. And this has changed a lot from when I first lived here. We used to just put the TV there because there was a cable cord there. And then after having kids, I created the play space in the back of the living room closest to the windows. I gave them the light, and I realized the TV viewing conversational area should be in the darker end of the room because you don't really need bright light for a TV, so that was a strange place to have the TV. So the living room is divided up by zones, and each zone has a way to make it feel distinct, but the whole room has to feel cohesive. So I bought this marble table secondhand, 90% off. Again, don't think anything's out of reach. You can pretty much find anything if you're willing to wait for it and look long enough for it. So this was a marble table. It's my little bit of luxury. Might not seem practical with 3 kids, but it works really well. Before I had a wooden table that was destroyed and I could never get myself to clean it or clean it off, and it just became a catch-all spot for papers and coins. I mean, the things that is just a lot of visual clutter. These are high chairs for my twins, and I made this floating bench on the back wall for my son, so we just shift the table out a bit. So the middle, this is our dining area, and the adult space where the kids also hang out and watch TV, but this is kind of my zone. When I have people over, I can have a lot of circular seating. This couch I bought secondhand. It was a Design Within Reach couch, so a really expensive, fancy couch that had performance cushions that were not performance enough for 3 kids. They got destroyed. So I actually took them off, sewed zippers onto them, and Frankensteined this whole couch to make the cushions removable and washable. And that has made a big difference in making this look really nice. I also kind of shrunk it. It used to be like a sectional with a shay on the side, and they were connected, and it had a high back, an armrest there, a deeper area, and I gutted it. I opened up the couch and I saw that the frame that the cushions were sitting on was a lot smaller. So I think this size couch with all the modifications I've made fit the space a lot nicer. And it's great for conversational seating because I can sit here, you can have 2 people sit there, 2 people can sit here. I can pull over one of the stools that I use in the dining area, and that can be circular seating. This is an old toy chest that I put under the TV. It still has toys in it, but I can also slide it over and then it becomes a coffee table. I actually had a birthday party for my son here, and he had seven 7-year-olds, and they had a pizza party, and I was able to fit everyone in here by using this as a table, taking the 2 stools and our climbing board and putting it across the 2 stools and making an additional table. So this has served a lot of gatherings really well. And this is a bookcase. I put these along the side to just create a nice little nook with my books for reading. I have a mirror here. Again, I really like to lean into using mirrors to reflect light and create scenes. I also like to create little vignettes wherever I can because I think it just adds a little spark of interest and joy in a home. Like this is my little Don Quixote. I took a course in college where the entire course was reading the book in Spanish. It was really hard, but something I'm really proud of. And so I created a little Don Quixote scene here. I have books for the kids, my books. This bookshelf it's not just a bookshelf. When my kids are sleeping in the bedroom and I'm out here, I can get to the bathroom because the main entrance to the bathroom is through the bedroom. Without interrupting them, I can get to the bathroom by going through this Murphy door. So it looks like a bookshelf, but it also opens up into the bathroom, which is incredibly useful, especially when they're sleeping at night. But we pretty much don't use it to get to the bathroom during the day because you can get to it from the bedroom. It's really a nighttime thing or an alternative way to get to the bathroom. And that's a pretty fun conversation starter. It always surprises people. This is a plug-in light that I feed above the crown molding to create a nice hanging pendant, to create a moment and help define the dining area, because this is not overhead light, it's a plug-in. And now the play area. The toys that I have that stay out always are the blocks. And if you look at any preschool, they always have blocks. My friend is an early childhood educator, and when I got pregnant, the first thing she said was, you have to get your child blocks. And it is amazing, and it always blows my mind how creatively the kids use these blocks. They will never tell you, it never makes any list of favorite toys of theirs. They will tell you blocks are boring, but I've seen them so many times use these blocks in creative ways to supplement their play when they're really deep into play and trying to form abstract ideas that they have in their head and tell stories with the blocks or use them as houses, buses, roads. So the blocks always stay out, and these are IKEA floating shelves that I put them on. I have a dollhouse here because my daughter and son, my younger 4-year-olds, they get really into small world play with the little dolls. This is an IKEA picture ledge. Again, look for things not just by what their intended purpose was, but be open-minded and you'll have so many options to decorate your space at the right size, right price point for you. So this works really nice as a little block nook. This is a magnet board that is also open-ended, really nice for creativity. You could use magnet tiles. We have a lot of different things you can clip to it. It's very strong. So I like this because it creates a nice focal point in the play area with the create sign on top of it, but it also just uses vertical space. So it's a nice way to add a play station for the kids that doesn't clutter the floor or take up floor space. So I'll swap out the different materials that are here occasionally. So now we have these magnetic men that you can connect, but I'll switch these out when they go stale. Like when the kids stop playing with them, I'll go into my closet and switch it for something else. I don't store my toys out here. I think that's really a recipe for chaos and disaster. It makes cleanup really hard. I think it overwhelms the kids when they have too many options and toys to play with. So I just rotate, and then it's like, oh, this toy. And it's almost like I bought them a new toy. Even though it's an old toy, they just haven't seen it in a while. So that's a fun trick. I built these shelves, didn't know what I was doing. It was a lot of trial and error, but it worked out perfectly. I needed shelves. I wanted shelves that had a little movement, had nice soft curves to soften the space. So I cut the shelves using a portable Dremel saw in my bathtub because I don't have a workstation anywhere. And so I did that, and then I covered it with like some kind of molding board, and then I found a door stopper, like something that you attach to the bottom of the door so that air doesn't come through, and I stapled it on and covered it with this, a lot of times I'll buy things, I'll just see them on the shelves, I'll go to Home Depot, I'll go to the hardware store, I'll be shopping and see something that could be used in one way, and I don't even know what it's called. I just know it works. So I built these shelves, and these bins have their toys, and these I rotate also. So animals, I'll rotate when they go stale. We have their Transformers. I'll swap these for cars or train tracks at some point, but now these are all kind of here from a fresh rotation, and they play with that. My kids are really into dramatic play. They'll dress up and pretend to be different characters. So this is their dress-up zone. It's just a wall, but I defined the dress-up zones by decorating it with hooks, putting up some of the costumes. I have a mirror here that's nice. It reflects, it just, when you're looking at the living room from that side, it creates depth. This is just a bench that they can sit on, but it also has their dress-up clothes, a toy chest for dress-up. These are play silk scarves. This is a toilet roll holder. It just, again, looks really nice, fits perfectly in this space, and they can pull whatever color they want from it really easily. It makes them accessible. It makes it decorative and pretty. This is just a divider. They'll use this a lot. They'll hide in here and be the different characters. And I really like having the dress-up area right near a rock climbing wall and monkey bars and foam pit, because they can feed into each other. So if you're playing, gosh, what are they doing? A lot of times they like to play animals, and they're chasing each other, and one goes up the wall, the rock wall, and the monkey bars, and then they'll jump onto the net loft, which is here. This was a net loft that I think it's called a space net, and climbers usually build these using paracords that are really strong. They have about a 660-pound weight capacity, I believe, each one. And it's meant for outdoor attaching to trees. And I thought, well, I like how light and airy it is, and how airy it is, and how it can make this space not a 9x8 square foot room, but almost like a 9x9x8 cubic room, because I'm using the ceiling, the sidewalls, and the floor. So it just creates a lot of movement in space. So this is kind of a micro version of those big gross motor movement play spaces you'll see online that people design in their basements. I don't have a basement, but this works just fine for my kids. They can climb up the rock wall, jump over the monkey bars, go to the net loft. And if you come on this side, I'll show you something with the net loft. These are just like 1x4 plywood that we had a carpenter build into the wall to create a frame. And it just creates a shelf up top for my kids to put their books, Pokemon toys. We keep puzzles on that side. And this is a really special place and seat. And the kids love it. And then of course I have a tree. I don't have too many trees outside, so I like to bring green in wherever I can. So we're back here, and this is a rock climbing wall. And what's nice about this rock climbing wall is the slabs that the rock holds are attached to. You can unscrew them and move them around. You can vary it so it varies based on complexity and level. And this slab, that's the heaviest part, is anchored into a wooden frame that goes behind it. So the wooden frame has to be securely anchored into the wall, but that's what supports the weight. And then the slab that goes on the wooden frame attaches to that. So it's not like each rock hold is drilled into the wall. So it creates minimal structural damage or modification. So that's nice. And then monkey bars on top, monkey bars on the side that create a ladder that go into the net loft. I put the foam pit here because we needed a crash pad, something for them to jump onto and land in. And what's nice about this foam pit is it adds a pop of color. It's vibrant, it's happy, I like yellow, but it's just an inviting place to jump into. And what's nice about this is the kids can go on the net loft and jump in. But an interesting thing is this is a toddler foam pit. Most foam pits support the weight of someone jumping into it by being 2 feet high and deep enough. And it's the foam cubes that support the crash and the landing, which clearly I don't have with this. So I hacked it and I put a landing pad that's used for gymnastics underneath that can support even adult weight. So if I were to jump off the net loft and land here, it wouldn't hurt my joints. So I pretty much made this foam pit, extended the lifespan of it so that my son, who's 7 now, still uses it and plays. And we've had birthday parties for him the last 2 years. And in this room, lots of 7-year-old boys play and jump, and it's comfortable. And the space is just enough for them. I got these neon signs at first. I used to be afraid of neon signs. I thought it was too disco nightclub feeling. But I got this one and initially, as I mentioned, put it in the alcove so that if I regretted how vibrant or bright it was tucked away. But at night, I really loved the glow and the vibe and how warm and fun it was at night. And even during the day, I think it just creates nice inspiration. It makes the room, it can help anchor a zone. So happy place sign you can see when you're on the net loft and relaxing. It gives you some light when you're up there, but it also helps anchor this wall, which is the dress-up area. I recently added this sign, create, because again, I needed some additional lighting, but I think it's inspirational. I feel like I would look at this sign in all the colors and want to create. So I've really, over the years, grown to love wallpaper, which I used to hate, and neon lights. I used to be too afraid to use any of them, but I think they're great ways to reflect your personality, your interests, and just add pops of color. And here I have this whale sign, neon sign. At night, you can really feel the difference more when they're off versus when they're on. They really add a vibe. They add depth to the room and really add additional lighting that's needed in these spaces at night. It's just a fun way to light up a room and decorate. In the middle of the playroom, we have a swing hook attachment. We have different attachments. So this is the swing that my kids currently like to use. They'll lay on it with their stomach, they'll kick up, they'll sit on it together, and they'll swing. But I also can attach to these hooks a yoga trapeze, a yoga hammock to do, upside down inversions when I have back pain. So it's for adults and kids, but the kids really love it. And I have a lot of bouncing yoga hooks, and I find that whenever they seem most dysregulated, when they come home from school after they've had a long day, when they want to decompress, these movement things are really helpful for them. The swing is really nice. We have clearance to go forward and back. You really just need like 6 feet of clearance on either side, but it's surprisingly strong and surprisingly fun. I use it a lot. And we have different attachments. It's a really fun thing to have at home. And it was the first big child-centric investment that I made in this space, even though I use it just as much as they do. I have a clock here, a simple clock. I use these because my kids don't really have a good concept of time, so I'll tell them, Baba's coming in half an hour. Well, when is that? It's when the little arm is here and the big arm is here, and it just gives them a nice visual guide so they stop asking me every minute, has it been half an hour yet? Has it been half an hour yet? So the radio, the clock are things I like to have in the play space, and they're really useful. This is a play kitchen that helps with imagination play. It takes up not a lot of surface area. It's really small and compact. I switched out the legs with legs that I found at Home Depot. I'm not even sure what these are meant for, but they work maybe the bottom of a couch, I'm thinking. And then I removed the back legs and I have it supported by the ledge here of the alcove, and I hacked it to be a working faucet. And what's really nice about this is just a plastic bowl, and it's a faucet that is used primarily, I think, in RV sinks. And then inside there's a milk carton for the dirty water to go in, and the clean water is pulled from the back, because I noticed that I had something like this before where the water circulated and my kids started to drink it, and I thought that's gross, so I like that it's separate. It's dirty water into the clean water, and then you refill. And then into the kitchen, this play kitchen goes into an expansion of that imagination play kitchen, and these are the shelves and drawers that were part of an old IKEA play kitchen that we had that wasn't used daily and took up too much space, so I took it apart and built it into our kitchen shelves. And then the rest of the kitchen is here. It's pretty small and narrow, but I use every inch of it all the way up. And I access the top ends by climbing onto these shelves, these stations and countertops, and I've just been doing it forever that I'm used to it. Otherwise, I probably would have a ladder there, but I don't use it or need it. There's a little space here because there's a pipe over here, so I have hooks on the wall in here for measuring utensils. I have knives here on a magnet board, my spices up here. I really try to find any space I can for storage and utility. And these are, I think they're IKEA plant cups that I put our utensils in. And I mainly did this because when my kids were young, I didn't want them being able to reach the knives and forks, and it just has worked really well. I just really believe that people should design their homes to reflect their priorities and their values. And this is a season in my life where the kids are still young and they're playing. If I'm still here 5 years from now, it might change a lot, but right now this best supports us. The things I have in this space and how we utilize it. If a parent sees something in my home that they think is aspirational, something that they want, but how could I ever either afford that or make space for it? I just have to say, we live in the age of information. There's so much out there to give you tips on how to do it yourself, and be open-minded to when you're in the department store, whether it's Home Depot, Target, TJ Maxx, any of the stores you go shopping in, even the supermarket, and you see things, don't let its predefined use limit your thinking of how you might be able to use it. I've used so many bathroom things in my space, like our art cart in the bedroom is a bathroom caddy that I put a shelf on because it was the perfect size for my small space, and it works great. The table that I have for the kids in the bedroom, I made using two chests of drawers that were meant for clothes, and I put just a board shelf that I found at Home Depot across it, and it's the perfect art table for my kids. To store their small little basketballs, I use a toilet paper holder. So I go shop, when I go to Home Depot, I'm constantly looking and seeing things. Oh, that looks nice, that looks like it's the perfect size, and I'm never shopping in the aisle that I should be shopping if I'm looking for something. And there are so many ways to hack things to make it work. Like this play kitchen is a really micro-sized play kitchen that I purchased because I needed something to fit on that wall, but it was low. I think it was meant for a 9-month-old that's just learning to stand. And so I went to Home Depot and got elevated legs to make it higher for my older kids. And then to make it more interesting for my even older child, I hacked it to make it a working faucet. And I got the idea for that by watching videos of how people who live in buses or RVs use their spaces. So they have these micro bathrooms and small faucets, like everything is out there. So you can just be flexible, break through the boundaries that stores set to sell a product. And once you do that, the options and opportunities almost seem limitless. Now I'm going to show you where we sleep. Follow me. This is the bedroom, the only bedroom in the apartment, and I've given it to my 3 kids, which is nice because I sleep better when they sleep. It's the only way I get sleep, but it's nice that they're contained in here, and when they're sleeping, the rest of the apartment is like a studio that I get all to myself. And it was really only when I gave the kids the bedroom that I had free, unrestricted time when they were in bed. I didn't have to tiptoe around because one was sleeping in the alcove. I didn't have to feel confined or have any other space taken up by the kids. So I really have the most freedom now at night after giving them the bedroom. It's a bunk bed, and it's a twin that was supposed to be on top of queen. The queen, this slat was supposed to go here, and you were supposed to have a queen mattress underneath, but because I have twins, I got them Montessori floor beds, and I moved the slat to the center to give them each space. So now all 3 kids have their own little space to sleep in. And then the back of the bedroom is an art area. I used to just have a tabletop art setup that my son could play with at the dining table, but then he really started to get into art, to making things with polymer clay. He became really advanced in doing complicated drawings where he was drawing motion into creatures and things, and I thought, all right, this kid has an interest and a real talent, so I wanted to give him a dedicated space. And this is the table that I made. These were just a chest, two things that I used to have in my closet that I cut down. It used to have 5 drawers, and it was too tall for my kids, my toddlers at the time, and so I cut it down to be 4. This is just a shelf that I found in Home Depot that goes across it, and it just fits the space perfectly. I have a chalkboard here. This is a bathroom caddy that I put a shelf on top of to turn it into an art cart. These are just cups that I found at Goodwill for $2 that I use for art materials, and these are the art materials that they can access or use freely on their own independently. They don't make too much of a mess, so that they have access to art and materials whenever they want. And then the messy stuff that I don't want them having access to whenever they want, I store up here. So like the messier paint, the glue gun, things like that. I like having a chalkboard here. This gets used sporadically, randomly. It's just nice to have a vertical space that they can create on. It's nice, we get a lot of light in the bedroom. This is a light that I also kind of hacked. It had just flat LED lights that felt too bright and white. I wanted to warm up and cozy up the space, especially at night. So I replaced the lights with, these are just like candelabra lights. And this is a small lampshade that I hang on them upside down. So it's just a nice way to add warmth to the room. And it's again the perfect shape to illuminate the rectangular long desk. I store clothes everywhere. A lot of people ask me, where do you keep your clothes? This IKEA storage has sweaters here. My son's clothes, my older son's clothes are here. My twins' clothes are still small because they're young, and those are out in the nightstand that's out in our living room. My clothes are behind the door in one of our closets. They're scattered throughout, but I know where everything is, and I believe that as long as there's a place for everything and everything in its place, you'll remember where things are, and I don't need a chest for my clothes. What we have works really well for me. So it's nice that I can free up the floor space for other things that we use. A basketball hoop is over here. My kids don't really use this, which is why I kind of put it in the bedroom. Maybe one day they'll get into it, but I like practicing at night. I'm not really good at it, but these are the little basketballs that go in there. It's really hard because for me it's really hard, and he got it in first try. I was like, I guess it's not hard when you know what you're doing and you've practiced, but I just try to do it. It has a backboard, it works, but it's fun. And I like to teach my kids, it's not getting it right. What makes someone successful is being okay with failing and getting up and trying again. I mean, you can read these stories about these athletes that, it's also why I think sports is really good for kids. I read a book once that talked about how boys tend to play sports and they learn to fail, they learn to take risks, they learn to be an individual player with their own goals, but also part of a team. And little girls who tend to play these imaginary doll play, they don't get to practice all of those skills that will benefit them in the workforce. So I like having my daughter practice with me. I like her seeing me doing something and trying that I'm not good at. And whenever they get something, I try to remember to not say, great job, you finally climbed those monkey bars. I try to say, you didn't give up and you kept practicing and you made it, because I want to reinforce that grit, that resolve, that continual practice, because I think that's what's going to help them be successful in life and continue to strive versus just praise. In this room, it gets a lot of light, but because it's an art area and a bedroom, I wanted the colors to be calming and soothing, because at night it transitions into a bedroom. So I went with this green palm wallpaper that's really light pastel green. And then here I have yellow and blue. So I stuck with green and blue and then kept this wall white. I actually like having negative space, so there's not too much clutter. A lot of times I'll go into a home to design and they'll say, well, what can I put on this wall? And I was like, I always say, well, what if we just kept it bare and then everything else stands out? I think it's nice. It gives your brain a bit of a break visually when you look in a room and there's some negative space. So I kept this wall white, that has the green, that has the blue. And the art area, I also kept white, and even the rug is white. The rug is white, and that might not seem like the best choice for an art area, but with the grains of color woven in to the low tile rugs, it kind of obscures. Like right here, we had a paint spill, but you can't really see it much. But this is also a carpet that is made up of individual tiles that you can pull up individually and wash individually, which has come in handy. And twice my kids have brought home the stomach bug. And at night with 3 kids, it was chaotic, but I was so thankful to have rugs where I could just pick up the soiled ones, throw them in the tub, and worry about them later. So I recommend these rugs to everyone I know. Whether you have kids, or you're just a messy person, or you have pets, they're really practical and come in great colors. My favorite space in the house, I think, has always been the alcove right behind me, because we have the corner windows and it gets so much direct, bright light that I don't take for granted any day, because I grew up in a basement apartment that had no light. We had windows that were street level, so all we saw were feet walking on the sidewalk. And so when I saw this apartment and it was just flooded with sunlight, it made me happy, and I just thought, this is a rarity and I will never take it for granted. So I love the alcove. It's also changed a lot over the years when I first lived here, and it's just a fun, whimsical space. A lot of my playroom stuff that's colorful and bright, I try to move back there, because I try to limit. I want to make the living room that's shared with our living room media space and dining table a bit more cohesive, so it's somewhat muted in this big open living room, and in the alcove is where I can go a little crazy and be whimsical. And the wallpaper with the whale I used to scuba dive, and maybe one day will again, hopefully. And so that just speaks to the inner child in me, and it just is my happy place. So I love the alcove. Now we're back in the foyer, which I introduced when we first came in as the welcoming entryway when people come in. But at night, it becomes my bedroom. And this was something I worked on for a while. When I gave the kids the bedroom, I couldn't figure out how to get a bed in here, a Murphy bed. I originally had a twin bed on this wall, a twin Murphy bed that extended out into the living room, because I couldn't find a Murphy bed for this wall that didn't block too much of the entryway. Most Murphy beds have a frame that comes out about 16 inches, which would be right to here. So could you imagine having a Murphy bed that goes right to here, and then how do you walk in? It just felt really confined. I finally found a frame-only Murphy bed that shrunk down the depth of the Murphy bed. This is a queen-size Murphy bed that, instead of coming out 16 inches, just comes out 9 inches up top and 11 inches up bottom. And it's a really nice space for me. So at night, I just pull it down. I grab my pillow from above that cabinet that's in the entryway. I made that headboard using a bench cushion. That nightstand, if you will, is actually a bathroom teak wall shelf unit that I used to have in the bathroom, and I just moved it here because it was the perfect size. That lamp is a wall sconce because, again, it was nice and compact and it fit there perfectly. And it's a very comfortable space for me to sleep in. This light looks beautiful. It's decorative. It's a rattan pendant, but it also has a fan built in, which is really needed at night to help with the airflow. And then I open up this divider to create a sense of closure and privacy at night. This was gifted to me by someone in the building, again, that friend who passed away, so it's meaningful to me. I attached this hook to the side so that it is anchored to the wall and my kids can't pull it down, but that also allowed me to keep it as flush to the wall as possible without having to prop it up to secure it and make it stable, so it doesn't take up too much space when it's closed. And then when it opens, it just creates such a nice, cozy, private space for me at night. And so this is my bedroom at night. And then that's the rest of my studio at night when the kids are sleeping. So I just pretend that that room doesn't exist, and it creates a nice sense of privacy, freedom, and then I can get to the bathroom through the Murphy door if I want. And then put it away, just fold it right back up. This is a shower curtain that I just stapled to the board of the Murphy bed to conceal the frame, which is not so aesthetically nice. So that worked well. And I used to scuba dive, and I have gone scuba diving with whale sharks. So this picture is pretty special to me. And then to continue closing up my bedroom for daytime use, I would fold this away, and then you have the space back to an entryway, foyer, and living room. The other area in this room, an unexpected use, is how I use this closet. It's our biggest closet, and I turned it into my workspace by building shelves into the wall to create a desk. I have my computer in here, my printer, paperwork. These days, now that my kids are in school, I do a lot of my work outside, but when they were younger and I was getting most of my writing done at night, I didn't like working outside in the windows where everything was dark and I felt like everyone was asleep. So I really liked having this space, this cocoon where I could retreat and write at night and just be by myself, especially during the pandemic when I was home with the kids. It was just nice to have my own space. And I have my computer. I store books up here. I write things I find important along the molding here because I couldn't take it out and it was ugly and I didn't want to paint it. I thought, all right, it'll just be a slab that I can write inspirational quotes on. And I really like creating, like I said, little vignettes. So if you look up, these are my porcelain dolls from when I was a kid. I could have just hid them in that bin, but instead I have one looking down at me, which some people think is creepy. I think it's fun, and I like that. I have an apple head doll that I made when I was younger up here. I have artwork from my kids on the back wall. So I'm constantly looking for ways to make moments in my home special, authentic, and reflective of who I am and my story. So that's my office, as they say, or as I've heard. And just to put this on the wall just to soften up the door so it doesn't feel like a door when I'm sleeping in the bed right next to it. This is our cat, Leo. He was 3 when we adopted him from a city shelter, and he is the sweetest. We call him a dog cat. He has to be part dog because he's such a lap cat and he's such a loving part of this family, and it's so nice that he has a second chance, and it does seem like he was meant for us. He's 5 now. We've had him for 2 years, and we love him. We adopted him from the shelter here in New York City, Center for Animal Care and Control. Home, for me, and this definition, the definition of home has evolved over the years. Home used to just be shelter, a place I could sleep, eat, and have a roof over my head. Because before kids, my job was almost everything in my life. And so it didn't really matter how my home supported me. And then becoming a mom and being at home more and seeing the effect of an environment on the development of a person, 3 little people who are growing and learning and how the environment is or is not supporting them. Home is almost a feeling. It's almost an entity that's alive and supporting us and evolving and changing as our values and needs change and grow. So home is not about the walls I'm in, but what's happening inside the walls and how we're using those walls. And it's a space that can be a part, for me as a mom, part of the extended village. And it almost feels like it has a soul. It has, even if I moved, all the stuff I've designed and curated, I think reflect the story of who I am and where I've come from, and really kind of can encapsulate the layers of life and what season of life I'm in. I don't think it's a stationary thing that's just frozen and is what it is. That's why I like the flexibility. I'm forced to think with being in a small space. I don't hold on to anything. It's constantly growing, the home that is. as my kids grow, and it's constantly changing. And my closet once stored my clothes and my outfits for going out. Now it's my home closet. One is a cubby, another closet is a cubby, another closet is toy storage, and that might change over time, but I like that home for me is a place that you can design and lean on to support you best in life.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to go to homeworthy.com for exclusive content, shopping guides, and so much more.